In today's Leeds News International Roundup, Calvert-Lewin feels at home, Leeds stands open to player sales, and Mateo Joseph on Leeds United future. Hey folks, welcome back to The View, Wednesday the 19th of November with your Leeds United news. Hope your week is going well. Hope everyone's doing okay this week. Just a quick reminder, there is a bit of a disruption this week. We have the Content Creator Awards tomorrow night in Leeds, so I'll be leaving here about 6 o'clock in the morning tomorrow to head over to Leeds to those awards. So the news, if it does get out tomorrow, it'll be late in the afternoon when it does. By the time I get into the hotel, just settle down, I'll try and get a video out at that point. And again, the same likely on Friday. But there is the podcast from last night, myself, Paul and Jerry, talking about the next 4 fixtures that Leeds have got coming up and what needs to be done to try and get some points in that block of games. You can check that out if you want it. If you want to like and subscribe and hype the video as well, that would be super helpful to us. We'll crack on today and we'll start off with a roundup of this week's international games. Jakubia played 90 minutes against Sweden for Slovenia in their 1-1 draw. He picked up the Man of the Match award in that game. He was playing in a back three. Very clearly his strongest position is in that back three. Gabby Gudmundsson in the same match came off the bench playing 25 minutes in the 1-1 draw with Slovenia. Good to see him back on the pitch, and important for Leeds at this weekend that he did get over that little injury that he picked up last week. On the Wales lads, Carl Darlow played 90 minutes in their 7-1 win over North Macedonia. Joe Rodon played 82 minutes in that game. Dan James played 64 minutes and scored in the game as well. No Ethan Ampadu in the squad for that match, but he did play last week. Ilya Gruev played 90 minutes for Bulgaria in their 2-1 win over Georgia, their first win in 18 months. Out Tanaka, no minutes yesterday for him in Japan's 3-0 win over Bolivia, but he did get some game time in their match last week. Brendan Aronson late last night played in the last 15 minutes off the bench in the USMNT's 5-1 friendly win over Uruguay. Interesting stat that came out after all the internationals were wrapped up from Johnny Cooper. There will be 3 ex-Leeds United managers at next summer's World Cup. Thomas Christensen, Jesse Marsh and Marcelo Bielsa all had slightly different fortunes at Leeds United during their times at the club. But yeah, let's crack on and talk about Dominic Calvert-Lewin. Dominic Calvert-Lewin spoke to Sky Sports yesterday about joining Leeds United and says that he feels right at home since arriving at the club. DCL said it felt like a breath of fresh air after spending 9 years at a single club, and pointed to the fact that he said that he needed a change of scenery and a new challenge to kick on in his career. He was asked why he felt that he needed that new challenge, and on that topic he had the following to say. My last 3 years at Everton were stressful. There was a lot of ups and downs. I felt I'd come to a stage where I probably started to stagnate a little bit, and I just felt a fresh environment and a new challenge was what was needed. The club has new ownership and a new stadium. There's a lot of positives about, but for myself and my personal journey, I just felt that, well, I had a feeling, and people not in the building would underestimate the kind of toll that it took on the players. Slightly ironically, Dominic Calvert-Lewin finds himself in a position where Leeds United are in that bottom 5 area, scrapping a little bit, and although it's not at the same level as it was during that time at Everton, and definitely not yet for Leeds United, that stress will likely come if Leeds don't improve their fortunes over the next couple of months. But Calvert-Lewin pointed to the experience that he did pick up with Everton during those couple of years fighting relegation, and says that if Leeds ever do get themselves into those difficult moments, that experience will definitely help him through that, and he can help the dressing room as well. But on moving to Leeds United and joining the club, he had the following to say about that. I would say it's been a good start, could have been better, can always be better if you're being critical, but I think I didn't have much time to get into the swing of things. I signed 4 days before the start of the season, but trying my best to keep myself fit, but it's not the same as playing and training with a team. Once I came in, it was about building fitness, and I got that through training and playing in the Premier League. Calvert-Lewin said he's probably as fit as he can probably be at this point, but needs to fine-tune some of the elements on the pitch, which again I think most people would agree with on that. But he's had high praise for the squad, he's had high praise for the staff and everyone around the place, and says that being back in Yorkshire and hearing those Yorkshire accents has made him feel right back at home. But he pointed to Leeds' goals this season, saying the club want to finish as high as they can and want to look up and not look down. But he also knows and isn't underestimating that the statistics say that it is always more tricky and hard for newly promoted sides to stay in the Premier League. But they know what this side is capable of. They've shown in some of the performance this season what they can do, and they will need to improve what he says are the smaller details in order to sort out some of the issues that they've got right now. I think it's the basic stuff that's catching Leeds right now. I think if they can fix those basic stuff like track and runners, ball watching, that kind of stuff, a lot of things could be fixed pretty quickly. But he said that the squad and himself have nothing but belief that they can stay in the Premier League. It's good to hear that, at least. I'm not going to say anything else, but it is nice to hear them say that out loud. Right, let's move on. Let's talk about Leeds' stance on potential player sales. If Leeds are to bring in new players in January, there is somewhat of an understanding that some players may need to go in order to rebalance the squad and get what's needed and what the owners missed during the summer transfer window. There may be a situation where Leeds have to sacrifice some of the existing squad in order to get the right balance across the entire side, give Daniel Farke the pieces of the jigsaw that he didn't get during the summer, and all of this is obviously being driven by a PSR situation. According to Dean Jones, he says that Leeds' stance on current player sales is open, with Willie Gnonto and Joel Piroe both being named as two potential players that Leeds could look at sacrificing if the need comes up. Gnonto, obviously, last week was linked with interest from Italy, and Joe Piroe has been linked with interest from the Netherlands. Sources have told Jones that Leeds would listen to offers for Willie Gnonto if the right price came in, but that could be said of absolutely any player in a squad at any club. Every single player has got a price. But on that topic, Jones said this: "This is going to be a transfer window of opportunism, and there are clubs who have been tracking Gnonto wondering if he's firmly going to leave, and I expect some of them to try their luck." Jones went on to say that Leeds would sell Gnonto if the right offer came in, and they would use that money to help fund their desire to bring in an additional striker. That striker could be any one of the players that's been named over the last couple of weeks: Francolinho, Troy Parrott. But on the Troy Parrott one, reports in the Netherlands from Voteball News say the Leeds United are interested in Parrott, but it could cost anything from 25 to 30 million pounds. And Joel Piroe is another name that could be used to raise funds for that. According to the report in the Netherlands, there was interest in Joel Piroe during the summer. That interest is said not to have gone, and Leeds decided in the summer to hang on to Piroe because they did feel at that time that he would have a part to play this season. So far, Joel Piroe's only managed to play 180 minutes in the Premier League so far, and is sitting behind Lucas Mecha and Dominic Calvert-Lewin. And if Leeds do look at bringing in an additional striker, then Joel Piroe is likely to fall further down the pecking order. I think from a fan's perspective, a lot of people would try and hope that Leeds would find a way of fitting Joel Piroe in there somewhere. We know he's a finisher, we know he can score goals. He doesn't exactly fit the hold-up striker that Leeds are playing with at the moment, but if you can find a way of getting him playing off one of the two big men, that would be an ideal situation. Same with Willie Gnonto as well. Leeds are lacking in creativity in the final third of the pitch, and at a young age, I think a lot of Leeds fans would hope to hang on to Willie Gnonto and see what he can develop into in the next couple of years. But it is going to be a tough window. There are going to have to be sacrifices made if they do want the incomings. The flip side to this is that investor meeting that happened after the West Ham game. Have Leeds managed to find a way of getting more money in that scenario to try and add more players to the squad? And I think at a minimum, Leeds probably need two: a striker and a creative player, whether that be a right winger or a 10. So yeah, going to be some tough calls that will be needed to be made. And if the rumour is true that Leeds are planning on acting early in January, which they haven't done historically, you're going to get an awful lot more of these stories in the next couple of weeks. Let's move on. Let's talk about Mateo Joseph. Leeds United's on-loan striker Mateo Joseph was speaking to Marca in Spain recently, and the subject of his immediate future came up because, of course it did. It's the most obvious question any publication can ask an on-loan striker. But Joseph, as we know, pushed for a move away from Leeds United in the summer. He had Real Betis and Real Mallorca both scrapping over his signature. Mallorca finally being the ones to get a deal done, but Real Betis are still said to be floating around the ether, waiting for a cheaper deal at some point for Mateo Joseph. But Joseph himself admitted that his future is not in his hands at this point, but does see a future for himself at Mallorca and would be keen to stay there if the opportunity came up. But speaking on his immediate future at Mallorca, he said the following: "I'm very happy here, but well, you never know. I'd say it doesn't really depend on me right now, but we'll see. I'm feeling great. This year, I'm trying to pay a little more attention to the details, like my diet and everything. I'm very happy because I'm finally found the right formula. In the end, Mallorca did an exceptional job pitching to me, but both the sporting director and the manager. I firmly believe that the more things I do well, the more of what the manager asks of me, the closer I will get to scoring goals." Leeds have always said that they value Mateo Joseph quite highly. The chairman and the sporting director have both said that they see a future for him at Leeds United, but at the very minimum, they see evaluation in Mateo Joseph. If he has a good season in Mallorca, if he continues to play well down there, then maybe Leeds United will get the fee that they want for him, and maybe he will get the exit that he wants away from the club. The flip side to that, as always, he has a really good season there. He comes back, becomes a mainstay in the Leeds United squad, and plays for Leeds United moving forward. So there's a talent in there, there's a player in there, there's a good striker in there. He's young, he needs games, he needs minutes, he needs confidence, and he needs goals. So hopefully he can find that over the course of this season. And one way or the other, Leeds will likely benefit. Either they get a fee for the player that they value him at, or the player ends up playing for Leeds and doing well for the club. So, yeah, lots to talk about there. We'll see how it goes. We'll keep an eye on him on loan watch over the rest of this season. We're back to football now. No international breaks between now and March. So we've got a clear run of things for a while as well. We'll see if Leeds can get a bit of momentum. We will have the game on Sunday as well to cover that, and the instant match reaction after that. And outside of that, you can check out last night's podcast if you want. If you want to like the video on your way out the door, that will be great as well. And I will talk to you tomorrow at some point. But there will be I suppose, details on what's going on at the Creator Awards if you want to check out the Instagram page as well. So the Leeds View at Instagram, you can check us out over there. Outside that, have a great rest of your day. Talk to you soon. See you later. Bye.